Hello, you're watching news from Kazakhstan, and here are the headlines. Workers of Kazakhstan in Aktau are continuing to strike. People demand to increase the salary and re-employ previously sacked workers. New facts emerge in the case of the brother of Respublika newspaper publisher Askar Moldashev, while the appeal of the chief reader of Republic newspaper Tatyana Trubacheva was declined. Family couple from Kazakhstan opens its own orphanage. Workers of Kazakhstan are striking for the third day in Aktau. Around 150 people are standing in front of the building of the company, including ex-employees. They believe that they were sacked illegally one day before the end of the probation period.
Workers note large turnover of staff at the company. According to them, Kazakhstan hires people on a 3-month probation and pays them a minimum wage of $200, then dismisses them without a valid reason and hires new people again. The demands put forward by painters, welders and mounters contain 12 clauses, including rehiring the fired workers, increasing wages and leveling wages of foreigners and Kazakhstani citizens. According to workers, the company employs 3 times as many labor migrants than Kazakhstan citizens. It is more profitable for them that way. If contracts are extended further to a year, it would require more training courses, more wages, and after the trial period is over, pay raises. Instead, they decided to fire everyone completely, sacking 5 to 6 people a day. When our guys were handing in their uniforms and equipment, some of them saw foreign citizens receiving it, in other words, taking our jobs. These are citizens of Bangladesh, China, Thailand, India, Malaysia, and other southeastern countries.
Head of the Regional Power Supply Administration Yerlan Uteshev was arrested in Karaganda. On Thursday evening, he was brought from the hospital accompanied by a doctor. Uteshev is accused of committing a fatal crash. Prosecutor demanded to arrest the official, while his attorney asked to release him on recognizance not to leave due to his health condition.
Do you plead guilty? Partially. On February 16th, the head of the Regional Energy and Utility Department, Yerlan Uteshev, drove under the influence into an oncoming lane on his BMW X5 SUV and collided with 2 vehicles. The car accident claimed the life of a 52-year-old woman, and 2 more people have been hospitalized. Uteshev himself was also delivered to the hospital. The doctors say that he received a brain concussion. He has been charged with vehicular homicide under Article 296. In the meantime, Uteshev is still in the hospital. Soon he will be transferred to a detention center. According to prosecutors, he is facing up to 5 years of imprisonment and a revoked driver's license for up to 3 years. Uteshev will be transferred to the detention center on February 26 or 27th. He is currently hospitalized under the supervision of the guards.
Talgat Akilbayev, head of the Regional Cultural Administration, was detained in Petropavlovsk, who is suspected in extorting tickets to the concert of Russian pop stars Leonid Agutin and Angelika Varum. According to the financial police, a state official wanted to attend the concert so bad that he demanded seats in the VIP section.
Criminal proceedings have been initiated against the head of the Department of Culture of North Kazakhstan region, who has been detained on charges of taking a bribe of 26 tickets for Leonid Agutin and Angelika Varum's concert to the amount of almost $2,800. According to preliminary information, the official demanded a bribe of 26 tickets from the concert organizers for a permit to use municipal premises for the stage performance. However, the head of the Department of Culture never made it at the long-awaited concert. Instead, he faces a likely conviction. Meanwhile, the government agency representatives refused to comment on the matter due to alleged lack of information. As an administrative official, I am not authorized to comment on the situation until the competent agencies make a formal statement.
Former Deputy Governor of Atyrau region Salimjan Nakpayev, who was convicted for arbitrariness during the rule of Bergey Rıskaliyev, was yet again appointed as the Deputy Governor of the region.
Salimjan Nakpayev was appointed by the governor as Deputy Governor, and he will mainly oversee energy and public utility services. To recap, prior to that, Salimjan Nakpayev has served as Deputy Governor twice. In addition, he served as Mayor of Atyrau for a short period. Last year, Nakpayev was declared wanted for a crime against public order. He was detained at the border with Russia and transferred back to Atyrau. Later, Nakpayev was sentenced to 4 years in prison, but the convict reported to Nursultan Nazarbayev on the fraud of Bergey Rıskaliyev, his former boss. Thus, in the end, he was released.
Mayor of Astana, Imangalit Asmagambetov, claims that life in Astana is improving. During the Thursday's meeting with the city residents, he summed up the results of work and revealed the plans of the city development. For instance, the Expo 2017 in Astana will lead to the emergence of new hotels, improvement of city infrastructure and construction of 50 kindergartens and 30 schools.
Express buses for specific lanes will be put on the roads. Tasmakambetov stated that public transportation fares will increase eventually. According to the mayor, the real cost for public transportation should be no less than 71 cents. He added that the capital does not fear any crisis and urged citizens to save electricity. The idle consumption of electricity for the average number of 500,000 apartments, offices, social facilities, private and suburban houses may add up to 155 million kilowatt-hours per year. For the sake of comparison, yearly generation of electricity by one of the major power stations in the capital, Key Plant Number 2, is 2,405 million kilowatt-hours. It shows that over 6% of the generated electrical energy is spent idly.
Communist MPs gathered experts at a round table in Almaty. They demand to organize an audit of the utility system. Some participants of the round table claim that the tariffs are fine, while others even receive some benefits. More details in the next report.
Irina Orlova lives in a comfortable area of Almaty. She pays about $200 for utilities in her two-bedroom apartment in the city center. The woman is outraged. The cost of utilities goes up, while the cooperative of apartment owners continues to collect money for maintenance purposes. I pay about $200 each month. I also pay the monthly maintenance fees. This month, the whole building received a $2,000 invoice for the repair of an elevator. I have to pay about $100 out of it. The participants of the meeting organized by the People's Communists are convinced that the rates increase because the industry is underfunded and ineffectively controlled. The main challenge for the heat, electricity and water systems is to increase capacity. The country's former main anti-monopoly activist Piotr Svoik explains that utility market rates already include an extra charge designed for the construction and cost recovery of new capacities. He insists on having a full-scope audit of the tariff investment. Should we not know the real situation of operational activities of water supplies and the heating systems, the tariff investment would become pointless. Therefore, it requires an audit. Head of the Almaty Department of Anti-Monopoly justifies the need for the meters and appliances. Dauren Jandarbiak believes that when the consumer does not exceed the standard capacity, he should pay $1.5 each month, while the pensioners are subjected to reimbursement up to 4 MCIs. In fact, they should also receive a housing allowance, said the official. According to him, the awareness among the population is very low. Of course, the crisis is affecting the economy these days. However, economic growth will eventually follow. Infrastructure sectors should not get in the way of economic growth. Nevertheless, according to speakers, the tariffs are not the main problem. The people need high-quality services, while the system needs transparent investment. Otherwise, consumers like Irina Orlova have every reason to be discontent, not being aware of what they're paying for.
Snow and the City Institute of Political Decisions organized a survey among Almaty residents and made a conclusion that the snow clearing campaign was a total failure. Public utility services and the city administration failed to address the said issues. Even state officials admit their fault. Find out the rest from the next report.
When it comes to assessing the quality of cleaning, negative comments prevail. Nearly 55% say street cleaning is carried out badly. The snow clearing campaign drew attention of the Institute of Political Solutions. In Almaty, it is one of the most discussed topics, so there were no problems with conducting surveys of public opinion. Although after each snowfall the mayor gathers and punishes his subordinates, the streets and roads do not look any cleaner. There were some mistakes on the part of the public services, and as you already know, responsible officials were punished. Some people were dismissed from their offices. Lessons were learned. Blogger Adil Nurmakov actively promotes the urban news website Almaty Сегодня. He made some effort and created a chronology of snowfall. The first heavy snowfall hit the city on December 1st. The reprimand for inaction was issued to Deputy Mayor nearly a month later on December 28th. Nevertheless, officials started cleaning Almaty from snow only on January 9th, right before the arrival of President Nazarbayev. The city administration reported that it applied 14,300 tons of sand and salt mixture on the roads after the first snowfall. That means in the first week of winter, it exhausted a quarter of all stocks. That is probably an error in planning. Adil Nurmakov also kept track of the number of special equipment, which officials have reported during the last 4 years. According to his estimates, the officials were supposed to have nearly 800 pieces of snow removal equipment for the 2013 winter season. However, they had only 425 in total. Officials did not argue with the blogger's calculations and quickly found answers for that. Back then, we had DEU Avtobaza, a private company which was contracted on a competitive basis to clean the streets of Almaty. Thus, all reported equipment belonged to this private enterprise. Even the mayor of the city admits that the city administration failed the snow removal campaign. There were many reasons. Most of them were voiced at the Institute of Political Decisions on Thursday. One of the main reasons is the crisis of accountability and lack of control. Now the local authorities face a new challenge as it needs to prepare for the spring floods. Spring, by tradition, will come unexpectedly.
Experts are surprised by the statements made by the state top managers on the form and methods of the pension savings fund reform. Recently, Vice Prime Minister Kairat Kelimbetov informed that now the state is intended to repurchase the shares of 4 system-generating pension funds.
In his interview for Interfax, Deputy Prime Minister Kairat Kelimbetov announced the scheme of the National Pension Fund reform. Thus, the 4 pension funds of the People's Bank, Grantum State Pension Fund, and Ularomit will head the National Bank's list of funds to be unified. At the moment, 10 pension funds have licenses, 4 of which make up 75% of the whole domestic pension market, including State Saving Pension Fund of the National Bank, which has over 20% market share, Ularomit, owned by BTA Bank, Saving Pension Fund of the People's Bank, and Grantum, that belongs to Kazkommertsbank. And the government is likely to purchase these funds' shares to unify all systematically important funds, as all pension assets will be joined on their basis. The official accused the leaders of pension funds of negligence but has not been given any response yet. The representatives of the system, which employs over 15,000 workers, do not publicly discuss either the perspective of pension funds unification or the fate of private funds employees. I said already that our management is not allowed to comment on the situation. We keep working as normal and provide a full range of services and depositors. One of the notion's avid opponents, Aidar Alibayev, doubts whether the Unified Pension Fund will be established and function properly, as officials frequently change their opinion on how to make good use of $21 billion accumulated by Kazakhstanis for their retirement. He reminds that a year ago the government did plan to invest pension funds in breakthrough projects and the national economy. I am shocked by the cynic nature of those schemes when the fate of all pension funds workers is at stake, the fate of business stockholders, the fate of millions of depositors and citizens of our country. Market players currently refrain from any actions. The representatives of the People's Bank say they have not yet received any proposals to retire the shares. Grantum is set to prepare an official request, and the pension fund Respublika is waiting for the government's firm decision concerning the Unified Pension Fund establishment. And in an interview to Kastag, one of the anonymous pension funds said that the government allegedly accused pension funds of negligence and started a campaign on seizing private property.
Kazakh insurers are not insured from financial errors. For instance, based on accounting, their expenditures exceed the revenues, while managers still have no idea on how to develop the insurance culture of the population.
According to the reported figures, Kazakhstan's insurance companies' expenses are consistently exceeding profits, as evidenced by last year's rise in expenditures by 50% amid a modest 34% increase in income. The chief editor of Rynek Strachovania magazine, translated as Insurance Market, Marina Shapovalova, perceived the situation as a result of lack of initiative from Kazakh insurers. Kazakhstan's underwriting companies should finally start making advances on the insurance market development program involving supervision by the government and regulatory agencies. Until the market participants willingly take a step forward, they will not be able to count on government assistance. Along with life insurance that proved to be the most popular type of insurance in 2012, car and property insurance also underwent some kind of activity boost. However, the total share of the insurance market's contribution to the country's GDP hardly exceeded 0.5%. Meanwhile, in view of the recent events around the national pension funds, the speakers expressed concerns over the market's future in case of a sudden dramatic increase in profitability. We must perform an adequate political risk assessment and encourage investors to do the same. There was serious deliberation over the negative effects of creating a single pension fund institution on the country's financial attractiveness and international standing. However, all we can do now is comply with the government's decision. The insurers proposed expansion to outlying regions as a way to revive the stagnant insurance market. Meanwhile, the experts agree that the Kazakh mentality still remains one of the main obstacles to the sector's development.
Administrative penalty was upheld, and now the chief reader of Republic newspaper, Tatyana Trubacheva, will pay $230 for listing her name in the newspaper's dateline.
The main reader of Respublika newspaper, Tatyana Trubacheva, still owes the state treasury 20 MCIs or $230. On Thursday, the judge Moldashva spent only 5 minutes reviewing her appeal. The appeal against the court ruling issued on February 7, 2013 in regard to Tatyana Trubacheva for violating Article 524 of the Code of Administrative Violations remains unchanged. On February 7th, the court held that being the chief media reader is the same as being involved in producing Respublika newspaper. It resembles the banned newspaper Golos Respubliki, where Trubacheva used to work as chief editor. To recap, 4 months ago, the supervisory authorities managed to have 4 dozen media declared extremist and illegal. Tatyana Trubacheva disagrees with the verdict, yet filing another appeal seems no longer possible. The journalist does not count that perhaps the prosecutor might file an objection. Basically, the court just found me having extremist brains, meaning that everything I think and write is bare extremism. Moreover, whoever worked in Golos Respubliki is also infected with extremism. They are simply being prejudiced, assuming that anything we do is extremist. Unfortunately, this is not the end of the trial over the former employees of Golos Respubliki. On Friday, the city court will review an appeal against the newspaper, which prosecutors refer to as United Media of Respublika. The editorial staff will try to persuade the judge that there is no such concept in the law.
The testimonies of prosecution witnesses were heard in Bostandik District Court in Almaty over the case of Askar Moldashev, the brother of the publisher of the newspaper Respublika, Danyar Moldashev. New secrets and methods of the investigation emerge in the courtroom.
Askar Moldashev was escorted to the courtroom under guard. The article was changed to a less severe 259 Part 1-1 of the Criminal Code of Kazakhstan. In other words, Askar is charged with illegal purchase, transportation, and possession of drugs without the purpose of distribution. He is facing from 3 to 7 years of jail time. 2 days ago, the second son was born in the defendant's family. Here's what the defendant said to his loved ones. I feel better now. I'm okay. The situation changed when the judge appeared. Yelena Kvan adamantly opposed the use of video and audio devices. The experts on drugs were the first to testify at the trial. According to them, not all pills found on Moldashev are illegal. The conclusion was made after examining only 6 of them. Most interesting statements were made later. I will not be saying anything. He said he was detained. Why should a detainee be an attesting witness? The prosecution witness Murat Kasyatov's testimony demonstrated the peculiarities of Kazakh investigation methods. He was head of the investigation, and according to Captain Kasyatov's testimony, he introduced himself as investigator of the Almaty Department of Internal Affairs. However, when filling out the protocol, he signed as an officer of Bostandik District Department of Internal Affairs. When asked who gave the order to arrest Askar Moldashev, the officer said that he only remembered that the order had been given orally and over the phone. Askar Moldashev's attorney refrains from commenting on the course of the trial in the interest of the defendant. She says that it might harm the accused.
Temporarily blocked Communist Party was also deprived of its newspaper. Pravda Kazakhstana was shut down for 3 months and its publishers were fined. This is the decision of Almaty Administrative Court.
On Thursday, the Inter-District Administrative Court issued a 3-month suspension decree for publishing and distribution of Pravda Kazakhstana newspaper of the earlier forbidden Rupert Kompartii Kazakhstana publication. The lawsuit against the periodical was filed by the Domestic Policy Department representative Bakhadjan Akhzharov on accusation of law infringement due to an erratic nature of publications. Meanwhile, the defendant editor Gaziz Aldamzharov insists that the case could have been resolved out of court by a simple advance notion. It seems that while acting as a prosecutor, the city administration department is rather incompetent when it comes to judicial proceedings, as evidenced by its ignorance of the pre-trial notice concept. The complainant should have informed me of the law violation before taking the matter to court. Meanwhile, the journalist of the accused publication, Sharip Kurakbayev, seems puzzled by the judge's decision to prohibit media coverage of the trial. I keep recalling the words of the president's advisor, Yertazbayev, claiming Kazakhstan as the bulwark of democracy and freedom of speech. But what I actually see is numerous violations and utter negligence of duties by the judge and other officials involved. The head of the Journalists in Trouble Foundation, Roslana Taukina, who has been closely monitoring the trial, noted that suppression of the official Communist Party's publication has secured monopoly for the partisan media of the pro-presidential political faction Nuratan. She also recalled the ongoing persecution that resulted in the Communist Party's disintegration, further aggravated by 2 judicial suspensions. There are 2 resemblant communist parties in Kazakhstan. However, only the party headed by parliament member Kasaryov seems to have received governmental endorsement, while the other one is subjected to continuous prosecution, which has already resulted in several suspensions, including suppression of the partisan media resource. I believe these actions are directed to an eventual party termination. The court decreed to hold the Communist Party of Kazakhstan liable to a fine of $1,700 for committing an administrative violation.
6 orphans from Kazakh now have a family. Their new parents are Ashim Yushmuratova and Abdulashim Siribayev. With their own 4 biological children, they want to create an orphanage for 30 kids.
Blue-eyed Alessia speaks Kazakh, and her parents Ashim and Abdulashim come from a regular Kazakh village.
Ол кездегі арманым
Back then, I dreamt about a woman that would come and adopt me. My dream has come true. Now I dream about becoming a TV host. Alesia's foster parents decided to share the family warmth with 6 more children after raising their own 4. It was very hard during the first 5 months. Family upbringing was alien to them, and they did everything in their own way. There were difficulties and so much drama. However, now it is funny to recall the stories. Araylim was 4 when she was brought to the orphanage. She had experienced all the troubles of an orphan's life. Now she is 16 years old, and Sister Ashim, that is how children call their fostering mother, taught her not just how to exist or survive, but to live. The girl learned many things and became a good housekeeper. Now Araylim already has her own family. Nevertheless, the young woman admits that painful memories from the orphanage years left a mark deep in her heart. I personally would be happy if orphanages were abolished. If we get rich with God's help, then I will certainly take orphans into my family just like Sister Ashim. I will do anything to give all the orphans a family. I am dreaming about creating a family-type orphanage, expand the house space, and fill it with happy children's laughter. These days I am working as an evening teacher at the Juvenile Adoption Center, from where I will adopt children for upbringing. Spouses are confident that they will succeed. 8 families in the city followed their example. More people like them are interested, which means more children will find their homes and families. However, unfortunately, not everyone. According to the Committee for the Protection of Children's Rights at the Ministry of Education and Science, currently there are 614 institutionalized childcare facilities, where 75,000 orphans are on government care. Sadly, only 17% have neither the father nor the mother, whereas almost 83% are social orphans.
Fishermen from South Kazakhstan region were able to catch a catfish of 3 meters in length and with a weight of 150 kilos in Sirdarya River. It took 7 people to get the giant out of the water.
The lucky fisherman Bakhtiar Tolometov shared that he dreamed about this for 20 years. The catfish is rather young and it could grow a lot bigger, says the man. All the friends and neighbors of the fisherman come to look at this trophy to take photographs. Villagers say they have not seen a fish that big for many years. They did not think the catch of such a size was possible in Sirdarya. Fishermen recall how in their childhood they watched their parents and grandparents having catches of up to 300 kilograms. We didn't think it was possible. We got lucky this year. The fish was so strong that at some point I thought it'll get away. However, I dreamt of this catch for 20 years and I wasn't going to give up, even if I fell in the water.
This is all for now. Thank you for watching and have a good day.